Hi, and welcome to Module 4. This is I feel like something's happening here. Anyhow, welcome to Module 4. This week, we're going to look at LMS tools, and we're going to talk more about community, about building community, and we're going to try some stuff. So I'm hoping that that works out really well. I feel like I should explain this, but I'll explain it at the end. So hold on. All right, let's do a screen share and jump into the module so I can show you around. And the video will be here where that spot is. So right now there's no video, but the module's open. And I added a little bit of a path down here at the bottom of the module opening page. And so the first thing I want you to do is read through this try it page. I've been getting some really interesting comments from people who are getting very excited because they're actually trying stuff out, which is awesome. That's the whole point of what we're doing here, right? It's not just to talk about it, but to actually use it. And one of the things that came out in our small groups last week in the Zoom discussions was this idea that you don't have to do something huge. Like you can start with something small and jump in and give it a shot. And so the other idea that came out, so I'm just going to scroll down this page, but you should read it because it's this idea of informal learning communities, informal spaces that sometimes are the most powerful connectors of community. And the trick is that the space doesn't exist until you make it. And if you don't make the space and you don't cultivate the space, students don't have any place to go to create community. And we all pretty much agreed that formal discussion forum posts, like assignments, that doesn't really do it. Like I didn't see anybody that was super excited about discussion forums. They're good, they serve a purpose, there's places to use them, but cultivating community is probably not their strong suit. So what I did here is I just pulled some quotes. I probably should have asked people first. But one of the things that people in the Zoom session did was they had to give me a takeaway, one word and a paragraph that unpacked the word. So I just shared a few of these with you that I thought, I mean, they were all good. Everything that's come in so far has been really good. I thought these ones hit some pretty key things on the head. I can create a space for engagement such as breakout rooms, but I need to set the parameters with a task, a time frame, a goal. And so it's kind of that blank page thing, right? Like if somebody hands you a blank page and says, write a book, you kind of get the deer in the headlights look. If somebody says, okay, here's the icebreaker topic, you have 5 minutes, go. Then you're kind of setting up the anticipation and the parameters, and they can go from there. They can answer the question, but then that will prime the pump for them to speak about, just to talk with each other and start making those connections. This other idea was this idea of small groups. You could have, well, somebody actually said, if there had been 6 people in my group, I don't think I would have spoke, but because there was only 3 or 4, I almost felt like I had to, like the spotlight's on to engage. You still have permission to not if you don't want to, but it makes it easier to jump in. So this idea of breaking into small breakout groups to talk about important topics. This next one was a really interesting thing because I hear this from a lot of teachers and I hear this from some students that, I feel disconnected and I don't know what to do, but I don't want to jump in. But then when they do jump in, they see the value because a lot of that is becoming more comfortable with your classmates. And you kind of assume everybody's got it figured out. But when you jump into these groups and talk to people, you're like, oh, they're just as clueless as I am. Okay, we're going to all figure this out together. So that's a really valuable outcome of small group experiences. And you can small group in Zoom pretty easy, but you could also set up small groups on asynchronous discussion forums or in asynchronous groups. So this applies in all the way across the board. And this last one I just loved, the importance of building in some time for fun and chatting. I mean, a couple of people mentioned when their students got together, they just wanted to talk to each other. Everybody's so isolated. They just wanted to chat and say, how are you doing? Like, what's going on? And sometimes we get into Zoom and we just get right down to business. Like we've got an outcome and we've got things to do, but it's super important to just build in that time, whether it's through some sort of unstructured, icebreaker sort of activity, whatever it is, or just allowing the students at the beginning or end to just chit chat with each other because they, for whatever reason, don't minimize the importance of that because it makes it more fun for you. But as this person said, I think, this will build community and make it more fun for me as well, because it's got to be fun for you, right? So I put all that up there. And then what I did is I kind of went through and I brainstormed and I thought, what's a list of quick wins based on some of the things that you guys are back channeling me? I'm getting a lot of back channel messages on Discord from people that are trying things and then just getting very excited about what's happening, which is great. I love that. So I was taking some of those, some of things from my own experience, and these are quick wins. I'd like you to pick one. Pick one thing you think you can try this week, or at least get started, all right? And I've got a whole list here. It's not an all-inclusive list. If something sounds interesting, but you're not sure like how to implement it, just send me a message. I love talking about this stuff. And it's, like I said, not all inclusive. So if there's something else that you think would be a good addition to this list, let me know. The key is it's something that isn't a lot of work to implement, but that could give you a really good outcome. And where you're going to report that out to is on our Cultivating Community channel on Discord. And we already have a story there. Let me jump over to that and show you. So in Discord, there's this, now in our area, there's this Cultivating Communities. And I had somebody message me and say, oh, hey, I set up a Discord server, and she got super excited because she set it up and the students were doing some stuff. And then somebody posted this. One of the students posted this. I'm just going to throw this out there. This feels like the strongest sense of community I've ever felt in a class by far. That might not be saying much, but it feels like I'm actually making friends instead of people I'll never talk to after the semester's over, like most classes. It's pretty cool. And what happened is a couple of more students started jumping in and saying, oh yeah, I feel that way too. Like super win, right? So what I want you to do is just add to this channel. If you're trying something out, like not everything's going to work, but if it works, let's celebrate it. And if it doesn't work, let's brainstorm it. Let's see if we can figure out how to make it work. So that's your challenge for the week, is the try it challenge. See if you can, let us know, like see what happens. All right, so let me jump to the end and give you what the end point is. So 3 weeks ago, we kind of started on the research project, which is due at the end of the month. I'm looking at a calendar. I think it's on the 28th. So you still have some time to get that thing working. And the audience for that is us, your colleagues. And so that's theory-based, but it's based on something that you want to actually try out. So you're getting more information on a subject you want to implement. The interactive lesson takes what you learned and applies it to something real that you can do. Hopefully a lesson you already have, like you don't have to create this from scratch. Take something you have and make it a little bit better using the interactive tools that we're showing you in class or other ones that you discover that you want to try out. Now in this final project is going to take the theory, it's going to take the lesson, and it's going to wrap it into a unit. I mean, this says a 2-week unit. Mostly, I'm just looking that you're checking off all the pieces, all right? So the lesson can be part of that, but we looked at design strategies last week. This week, we're looking at some LMS tools that are inside and outside the learning management system. You've got lots of, it's kind of like having a pile of Legos. What are you going to build with it? Like all these things are different Lego pieces. What are you going to build with it? So that's what the final project is. And the idea is take a unit you already have and make it better. So what we're going to do this week in the discussion is, talk about, like, are there any features that you've used in the past that work particularly well? Remember, our focus is on community building. Are there any features that have worked particularly well? And then provide an overview of the unit. So like, what's the subject? What kind of activities are going to be in there? And how are you envision implementing some of these features to make it more interactive and more community building for your students? And then finally, how can we be helpful? Like what feedback would you like so that we can help you accomplish this in some way? So just like the previous discussions, the initial post is due on Thursday, and the response to your colleagues is due on Sunday. It says 2, if you have time, respond to more. Try to find somebody that doesn't have any responses yet and reply to them. Now, let me backtrack here a little bit. And I'm just going to really quickly go through these different, we only have a couple here, these different things, just so you have an overview. So this first part is talking in general about what an LMS is, and it's looking at some features of different ones. Now, we use Canvas. Most of California uses Canvas. A lot of K-12 schools use Google Classroom. I don't think anybody uses Blackboard anymore, I'll be honest. I love Moodle. I still use Moodle in some contexts. Anyhow, just an overview. The next page is going to give you some really interesting tips on different types of ways to grade, mostly focused on in Canvas. There's a good video here that Alex made that will give you some insights into a lot of different ways to interact with different types of grading assessment mechanisms. And so, feedback for automatically graded items, feedback from the grade book, rubric feedback, media feedback. You can leave an audio feedback, so that'll be really nice. And yeah, just different things to think about. The next page, we'll look at apps and third-party tools. So third-party, like internal tools are within the system, external tools are outside of the system. Again, there's lots of Lego pieces here. So you just sort through the Legos and decide what size and color you need to build the thing you want to build, all right? This will give you an idea. So lots of things within Canvas. This mastery path thing, there's a little more on that coming up, but that's an interesting idea that you might want to try in your unit. Lots of external tools that we kind of looked at some of these in some contexts, Nearpod and Paradeck, and just lots of different things. So just explore, find out what the Legos are. This is an idea of self-paced lessons and the self-paced course. I like to use a little bit of a mix of this. Some things the students can do on their kind of at their own pace, and other things are best done as we all go through it together. So you have to decide what it is you're developing and what will work best, but here's some pros and cons to consider. And the video is really good. Now this learning mastery path, okay, so this is all about kind of creating a path for students to go through, and then when they reach a certain level, they can move on to the next level. And if they don't, then it gives some tools for them to come up to speed on different things. So this video right here actually explains it way better than I am obviously explaining it. And then I think we're just back to the discussion. So what's this all about? Do you remember the story about the cat lawyer, the lawyer cat, whichever? Super funny, super cool. Like it was like the best thing that happened to me all week last week was to do this or to hear this story. This lawyer basically got into Zoom. He was in some sort of court hearing, and somebody had turned filters on. He was using, it sounded like his secretary's laptop, and maybe her kids were playing with filters or something. And so he shows up in Zoom looking like a cat, like he was a cat. And it was super funny because the judge is saying, "Sir, I think you've got a filter on." And the guy is saying, I know it's a filter, Your Honor. I'm ready to proceed. I'm not a cat. I'm really here. And the judge says, "I know you're not a cat. Honestly, I've watched that 100 times. It makes me laugh every time. Simple pleasures." So, but I was really curious about how that worked. And so it's not actually a Zoom filter. It's another filter. And I think I posted a video somewhere in Discord last week, probably on the random but not related channel. If I had to, I think that's where it is. So I posted a video of me playing with these filters, okay? And we were doing augmented and virtual reality in my class last week, in my 101 class. I thought, perfect, great way to end the semester. Winter intersession ended. Great way to end. Let's try it out. And so I sat there in Zoom and I just started messing around with the filters. And there are so many different ones that are so much fun. And so I thought it would be really interesting to tell my students, well, if you wanted a little extra credit, you could show up to our last Zoom session in one of these filters. And there's just so many. That's my favorite one. Yeah, there's a lot of favorite ones. So I'm just going to show you what it looked like when my students showed up in Zoom. So this was our last class session. Not everybody made it work. There was a couple here that were trying the little circle thing. That's the app that that they were using. They were trying to get it to load, but you know, we just had all kinds of interesting characters in here. And I thought, why not? This goes to that fun factor. Why not have a little bit of fun with your students? And why not let them have a little bit of fun? Because this led to a fantastic discussion. Just because you have fun doesn't mean you can't talk about good stuff. This led to a really cool discussion about what kind of technology allows this, facial recognition technology. How does that get used? Like Snapchat's all fun and games, right? Until profiling happens at the airport using facial recognition technology. And I shared an article about China selling this technology to Ecuador and Ecuador using it to kind of profile political dissidents. Like we got deep quick in this, but it was a lot of fun. I gave them a little bit of extra credit. Oh, sorry. This is actually one of my favorites. I really like this one. Let me go find another filter. I'll go back to the daisies. This gave me an opportunity to give them a little bit of extra credit. I told them if they recorded a video in character and they recited a poem and they shared it to our general channel, that I'd give them like 10 points. Students will do anything for 10 points. But we had a blast. We were like laughing all the way through because people were changing filters. The guy that was the dog in the corner kept changing dogs. He ended up as a husky at the end. Anyhow, the point is take this week and actually try something fun. We're, you know, several weeks into the semester for most of us, and this is sort of when there's a little bit of lag. It's not too late to try out introduction videos. You call it whatever you want. You know, it doesn't have to be introduction video, but it's not too late to show up in Zoom like this. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? Anyhow, I want you to have a really good week. I'm really interested to see what you're going to try. Connect with me in Discord because I love chatting with people behind the scenes. And please, please, please post to the Cultivating Community channel. I want to start documenting some of these things you guys are trying so that other people can try them too. Have a really great week.